1600.
WWRL.
New York.
An Access One communications radio station.
Yetta Kurland on the air. Yetta Kurland live.
Good evening and welcome everybody to this special debate response edition of Yetta Kurland Live. I am your host, Yetta Kurland, and tonight we will be joined by editor of the New Civil Rights Movement, David Badash, and Democratic District Leader, Paul Newell. I first want to thank our media partners, Go Magazine, Labor Press, the Soho Journal, City and State New York, and the New Civil Rights Movement for helping make this show happen, as well as our community sponsors, the Ritz and Whole Earth Bakery. You can pick up a copy of Go Magazine at your local newsstand or at gomag.com. City and State New York is online at cityandstateny.com. The Soho Journal at sohojournal.com. The New Civil Rights Movement at thenewcivilrightsmovement.com. And Labor Press is at laborpress.org. Also, you can listen to us live stream at WWRL1600.com. And please join us on Facebook at Yetta Kurland Live, on Twitter at Yetta Kurland, and check us out at Huffington Post, which is at HuffPost/Yetta. Now, tonight we are going to respond to the second presidential debate of 2012 right here on Yetta Kurland Live. That's WWRL 1600 AM Equality Pride Radio. You can call in with questions or comments, your feedback on how you thought tonight's second presidential debate went. The number to do so is 212-868-0975. Again, that number is 212-868-0975. Please let us know how you felt the debate tonight went. And we have a special guest in studio that we're going to say hello to, Trudy Mason, District Leader, State Committee Woman, Trudy Mason. Trudy, we'll start out the evening's debate response with you. How do you think the President of the United States did in his debate, the second debate with Mitt Romney this evening?
Certainly a lot better than the first debate.
Yeah.
Which I can say that. As I was just saying, walking over here, I felt great about this. But I also try to view these things through the filter or through the optics of those who are, as I put it, west of the Hudson and south of New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to sort out some of Romney's comments and how that resonated with them. I think the president's closing, and I guess that's what you really need, is a closer.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant, and it was wonderful, and it was the closer. And I hope that that's what will resonate even south of New Jersey and west of the Hudson.
Well, and before we get on to our guests, our program guests for tonight, I want to ask you, as a woman, as someone who has been a leader for women here in New York and frankly nationally, first of all, I was delighted that they actually talked about women tonight. They didn't do that, obviously, as you know, in the first debate. But what did you think about Mitt Romney's response and Barack Obama's response on the Lilly Ledbetter law?
Well, Lilly Ledbetter, of course, Lilly happens to be a friend and somebody who I know really well.
We need to get her on Yetta Kurland Live at some point in the future.
We will try when she's in New York. But so it was wonderful that was brought up. What I think was really important in terms of how women were brought up, that it wasn't about the usual, quote, women's issues, but more talking about women and the economy, women and wages, women as the breadwinners. And I think that was the important thing that came out tonight.
Well,
not just about the usual women's, quote, women's issues, unquote.
I'm sure we'll be talking about this later in the evening, but thank you so much for weighing in. State Committee Woman Trudy Mason here on Yetta Kurland Live, checking in with us after the debate. We saw you up at Smithfield with DL21C at the watch party this evening.
The oldest living young Democrat. That's
all right.
me.
Trudy Mason, thank you so much for your time here on Yetta Kurland Live. So, call in 212-868-0975. Again, that number is 212-868-0975. I'm going to introduce David Badash, who's going to be one of our pundits for this evening. He is the founder and editor of the New Civil Rights Movement, which is a journal of news and opinion on LGBT rights and marriage equality. I'm delighted to have him back on our show tonight to talk about the second presidential debate. David joined us after the first presidential debate as well. David, thanks for coming on Yetta Kurland Live tonight.
Oh, gosh, Yetta, thank you so much. I am so happy right now.
Well, I want to hear more about that, so hold that thought. Let me introduce our second guest for tonight. No stranger to our listeners on Yetta Kurland Live, a vital part of our show, our producer, Paul Newell. Paul is not only the producer of Yetta Kurland Live, but he's also a community organizer in Lower Manhattan and the Lower East Side, as well as a Democratic district leader for the 65th Assembly District. He's also been, I think, a delegate for Barack Obama in the past, and he joined me at the Democratic National Convention this last time around as we covered the DNC just recently. Paul, thanks for coming on the air with us tonight to talk about this.
Of course, always a pleasure, and I'm sharing David's happiness, just not so much for the Yankees.
Wow. David, are you a Yankees fan? I feel like we're getting off topic here, although it is a local issue.
I'm a Yankees fan, but I don't know anything about it.
Okay. Well, which is probably not what our listeners are interested in tonight. I want to hear first, I'm going to ask both Paul and David what their initial thoughts and responses were to tonight's debate. David, we'll go first with you.
Yeah, you know, what we saw tonight was the President Obama that we have all fallen in love with over the past 4 or 5 or 6 years. And he was back. He was smart. He compacted into his answers so many different important issues, and he really had Mitt Romney spinning.
Yeah. He wasn't afraid to come back at him, right? You're simply wrong, Governor. A couple of times I felt like that really got people excited.
Exactly. And, you know, I was watching CNN, and they have that scroll at the bottom that shows how everybody's feeling.
Right.
And as soon as Obama talked about his record, he talked about his beliefs, he talked about his policies, that scroll went up. People loved it. The moment that Romney started attacking Obama, that scroll went down. It was very, very clear, and it's clear that Obama won.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I will say that I definitely do share your optimism, and I do think Obama did present a much stronger case to the American people than he did the last time around. I'm not as bearish on how Mitt Romney did, though. I think he still did manage to get a lot of mendacity in there and throw a lot of lies over the transom, and I think he also at times came across as though he actually cared about working and middle-class people, and that is a problem because A, it's inaccurate, and B, it is a message that if Romney is to have a chance in this election, then he needs to convey, and I don't think he totally failed in doing that again this time. But that said, I do think Obama was much stronger in presenting his record and countering some of those lies.
Yeah, David, you saw, David, Paul and I were having close communications throughout the debate through Twitter as we were live tweeting. And David, you saw at one point I got kind of nervous. I did also think that Mitt Romney, I think Obama was great. He was poised. He was willing to bite back, and it got a little hostile there because of it, I think, at some points. And we'll get to Candy Crowley in a moment, which I thought was spectacular. We need to discuss. But I do think that Mitt Romney did as well as he could do, given what he's dealt with in terms of where he is on policies and issues. David, do you agree or disagree with that?
I agree, and I agree not 100%, and here's why. Mitt Romney absolutely was a different Mitt Romney than we saw the last time. The lies were a little bit more veiled, but there were a lot of lies there, and you're both absolutely right in saying that. Obama had absolutely no problem defending his record and saying, as you said, Yetta, Governor, you're lying, is basically what Obama said. You asked me last time we did this what we learned about the two candidates. I found something really fascinating tonight. Towards the end of the debate, Romney was talking about jobs, and he said, the government never creates jobs. And then he was asked, how would you create jobs? And his response was, I want to level the playing field.
Right.
And it was absolutely amazing to me that the governor wants to level the playing field for corporations, but he refuses to do that for people.
Exactly, and I also, of course, tweeted about that. But Citizens United, right? He wants rights for corporations as if they were people when it serves them to enter elections, to unfairly tip the hand of government, but he doesn't want corporations to have to be taxed like people, like persons.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting. So, you know, I thought the end was really just amazing. So one of the points that I thought was really tremendous, and I want to get into women and the role of women, but obviously, you know, Candy Crowley was a woman moderator, the first in a long time. How do you guys think that she did overall? And then I want to ask a couple questions about some of the
Well,
things.
yeah, no, I think in our last conversation after the first debate, I think David said, you know, I can tell you for sure who lost this debate, and it's Jim Lehrer, and I can make you can tell for sure who won this debate, and it's Candy Crowley.
Oh, yeah.
That is the best debate moderation I recall ever. That's the first time I've seen a debate moderator actually call out a politician on an untruth during the debate, and I think that is so important in our society, and bless her heart.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to narrow in on, so I'm glad you got to it. David, what do you think about the fact that at a certain point, Candy Crowley actually corrected Mitt Romney on assertions that he was making on the floor of the debate?
It was, you know, it was beautiful, and it was something that we expect our journalists to do.
Right.
And I was, as a journalist, I was so proud of her. What we're talking about is when Romney said that Obama did not call what happened in Libya terrorism, and Obama said, pull the transcript, and Candy Crowley said he absolutely did, and I've seen the transcript, I got it. I pulled it too, and he absolutely used the word terror 3 times in the Rose Garden when he was talking about what happened in Libya.
You almost got the sense that Obama was sort of upset that she fact-checked him because he was trying to lure Romney into a trap. He was like, continue, mister, continue, continue down this road.
I mean, it really, what's the word? Like, it really confirmed, you know, the other thing that I started to get, I worry, you know, so one of the things that I worry about is like, okay, so here Obama and the Obama team is on ostensibly the defense. You know, they're calling out Romney on making things up and not being right on the facts and fact-checking, and this whole narrative about using the word liar and lying in these presidential debates, right? So, you know, that made me nervous, and I'm thinking to myself, somebody who's on the defense is often considered losing. So when that happened, I just felt like it was such a game changer, because here was this objective, neutral position saying definitively and just a reality check that, in fact, he was substantially wrong on one of his strongest points against the president.
I love that there's a taboo on calling someone a liar, but not on lying.
That's very true.
You are listening to Paul Newell, District Leader, and David Badash, the founder and editor of the New Civil Rights Movement, here on Yetta Kurland Live, WWRL, 1600 AM Equality Pride Radio. Call in with questions or comments at 212-868-0975. Again, that number is 212-868-0975. We are going to go to our first caller, no stranger and a friend to the show, Adam Green, who is an advocate in his own right, a founder of Bold Progressives, and calling in to let us know how he thought the presidential debate went. Adam, welcome to Yetta Kurland Live. You're on the air. Are you there with us? All right, we'll circle back to Adam. Let's go to our next call. Oh, you are there. Hey, Adam, how are you doing?
Hey. Good, Yetta. How are you?
Good. So I'll ask you the same question that I asked Paul and David. What were your just overall initial reactions to the second debate, and maybe compare and contrast it a little bit to the first debate?
Yeah, I agree with most of what was said already. I definitely think that the last answer was a high point for the president. If that's all the people remember tonight, then he's done his job and probably won easily. Overall, I think it was a good night for Democrats. From a Democratic perspective, the president, fought back. He actually was willing to rebut on these arguments. And, from the perspective of a voter, if Democrats don't rebut the Republican arguments, then why should they, not believe Republican arguments? So I think Democrats will feel very good tonight. And my guess is overall, President Obama will win in the public mind. From a progressive perspective, I have a little bit more nuanced of a thought. I mean, I think that on women's issues, he was great. On immigration issues, he was very good. There was really no red meat for progressives on any issues of corporate power, no red meat for progressives on really standing up for Social Security or Medicare. We still have gone this entire election season and not gotten a promise from President Obama that he won't cut Social Security benefits. And therefore, and his answer on guns was pretty weak.
Yeah.
So I think, overall,
in fact, he led with the fact that he was a supporter of the Second Amendment and then really didn't get into a lot of the importance in terms of reform on that. And I think that whole discourse took up a lot of time with the debate. And you're right, we didn't hear a lot of the important other issues. In fact, frankly, and David, this is a tip to you as members in the LGBT community, we didn't hear anything on LGBT issues. Although I was happy to hear stuff on women's issues, again, that was probably a shorter snippet than other issues. And in general, I think that some of those discussions, like Adam is talking about, on strong progressive issues, kind of were missing. David, why do you think that? Do you agree with that? And if so, why do you think that was?
I do agree with it, and it is disappointing. But I think what we have to remember right now is, you have to pick and choose your battles. Mm-hmm. And I am definitely an opponent of. I'm against guns. Mm-hmm. I want to make that really clear. And I thought that Obama's answer on guns was excellent. I think I said on Twitter, actually guns, the issue of guns is really the third rail, and Obama won that hands down. That is a very difficult topic, and I thought he won.
I was glad it came up. I tweeted that I was glad to have a debate taking place on Long Island because we actually have some urban concerns brought up.
Right.
Long Island has been very challenged with guns, absolutely.
And Adam, one more question to you before we let you go. Of those different progressive issues, what would you have liked to have heard about? And before you leave, what would be your recommendations to both Barack Obama as well as Mitt Romney for the third and final presidential debate if you thought that they needed to do more work in a specific area or to really make their case to the American people?
Yeah, I don't have any recommendations for the president because I think he probably did as well as he's going to do tonight in terms of fighting back and stating his positions clearly. I think that, someday when we see a truly bold progressive presidential candidate on the Democratic side, they will make the case for government and be willing to take on corporate power head on. And, granting the idea that government doesn't create jobs when, as Paul Krugman points out, we can literally create 1 million jobs, but just by putting the teachers back to work who have been fired in the last couple of years. That's something you don't need to cede as a Democrat, but he cedes it.
And
I think he'll just keep doing that, and I wouldn't advise him otherwise because that's his position. But if an Elizabeth Warren, if someone of that stripe were to be the nominee in 2016.
Well, let's get her elected to the Senate first.
From your lips to, Well, in fact, before we let you go, let's talk about, because obviously it is important to win the presidential seat, but also we need a Congress that can allow Barack Obama to do important work on a number of issues. Can you tell us a little bit about the races that you're working on and how can folks get involved to get out the vote?
Sure. Well, I think one thing that everybody can agree on the Democratic progressive side is that there are many progressives on the ballot running for Congress and Senate, and if they win, that helps President Obama and helps us all. And we are doing a program at the Progressive Change Campaign Committee called Call Out the Vote, which in the last 6 days has had volunteers across the nation making over 250,000 phone calls for key candidates for Congress. And we're doing it in partnership with this show. If folks go to yettoutthevote.com,
that's YETTOUTTHEVOTE.com.
Yettoutthevote.com. You can sign up to make calls for Elizabeth Warren tomorrow, Alan Grayson the next couple days, Tammy Baldwin tomorrow from Wisconsin, and a bunch of other great progressive candidates. And, we're, as the Koch brothers use their money and their corporate power, we are using people power to fight back. And so far, frankly, we are way beyond where we expected to be at this point, over 250,000 calls, and 3 weeks still left to go. So thank you for your partnership on this, and hopefully all of us can celebrate on election night as we have both the Democratic president and really strong progressives like Elizabeth Warren winning.
Excellent.
And actually, Adam, could you just give our listeners just a little bit more of a primer exactly how this works when they go to the website, how they can make these phone calls from home, just so they can.
Sure, absolutely. So basically, anybody can make these phone calls from home any time of the day at various shifts. And we have this cutting-edge technology that weeds out all the answering machines, weeds out all the not-home people, and only patches through live voters who actually answer in target districts, which means if you have an hour to spare and you live a busy life, your time will be used efficiently and be used 100% to help progressives across the nation. That's the basic gist. You just dial up from home. There's easy directions on the website. I actually talked to a ton of people today just asking them how their calls went during the first week, little customer service there. And people raved about it. They actually said it's more efficient than the Obama system. I can't verify that myself, but people are really loving it and finding it very easy to use. So YettOutTheVote.com, Y-E-T-T.
Y-E-T-T. Adam Green, Bold Progressives, partnering with Yetta Kurland Live to Yet Out the Vote, Y-E-T-T, Y-E-T-T-V-O-T-E.com. I'm sorry, Yet Out the Vote, YETTOUTTHEVOTE.com. Yet Out the Vote. Follow the simple instructions on that website. Call in, make some calls. Like you said, Elizabeth Warren, Tammy Baldwin, Alan Grayson, all important advocates and progressives. Adam, thanks so much for coming on the show. We'll have you on again soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Yetta.
You've been listening to Yetta Kurland Live, WWRL 1600 AM Equality Pride Radio. We're talking about the second presidential debate with Barack Obama and Mitt Romney here on Yetta Kurland Live. Call in with questions or comments. We're talking with David Badash, who's the editor from the New Civil Rights Movement, and Paul Newell, a Obama delegate and also district leader in the lower east side of Manhattan. 212-868-0975. Let's go to our next caller. We're going to go to Ed from the Upper West Side. Ed, welcome to Yetta Kurland Live. You're on the air.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
I think the headline for my column tomorrow is going to be, "The Kid is Back."
The kid is back. So you felt...
Obama is back.
Uh-huh.
He's in the ring, and he did very well.
Yeah, what did you think he did best, and what was the best part of the
I
debate?
think he took, the question was really on people's minds, that the problem was that Romney took charge of the debate last month, and this time Obama took charge. He was in charge of the room, and he was clearly at ease. He was himself. He was loosey-goosey, and he wasn't ducking anything. He went up to people very frankly, and he went to Romney very frankly. And when Romney started hinting that he was not doing his job as president or not a good president, you could see the fire in his eyes. So I think it was a good performance by Obama. Never mind the stuff he said, which was also good, but just his persona and the body language is all very good. He took charge of the room.
Let me ask you something, and I guess this question is for everybody. Is body language, is something as simple as the way he delivers the message, in some ways maybe not more important, but as important as the message that he's delivering?
It's very important. I think, especially for people who are not yet decided who they're voting for. Bear in mind, we've had several months of election here, and there's about 5 or 10, at the very most, 10% of the country doesn't know who they want to vote for. Those people are looking for something that's going to stir them.
Mm-hmm.
And for those people, I think body language is even more important than factual language, than factual exposition. It's something they want to feel that the President of the United States is in charge of this country. Mm-hmm. Because if they don't, then they worry. If they think the President is not in charge, then they get nervous about that. So they want to make sure the President is in charge of things, and they saw that tonight. They saw a President in charge.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you for your comment. Thanks for calling in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Listen, and to that end, I want to nuance that just a little bit, because I couldn't help but thinking you want somebody in charge, but I felt like Mitt Romney at one minute, he was like, at one point, a couple of times, Katie Crowley had to tell him to go sit down and kind of back off, and sometimes she'd tell him to please stop, and he'd start at it again. Is there a point when it becomes too much and more than just a strong presidential stance? David, what do you think of that?
Yeah, absolutely. What we saw with Mitt Romney was someone who isn't necessarily in control of his temper, and quite frankly was downright rude. And it was interesting because I found at the vice presidential debate, I found Joe Biden to be charming and a statesman.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Biden was attacked on the right, and they called him rude. I didn't find him rude at all.
Right.
I did find Mitt Romney incredibly rude. Candy Crowley at one point said, "No, Governor, we have to move on," and he said, "No."
Yeah.
I felt like we were looking at Newt Gingrich.
Yeah.
Right, and I thought there was a gender issue there too. Though I am interested to hear, because I also had the same response, that I thought that Joe Biden, I thought, was affable in his dismissing of Paul Ryan, but I found Romney very aggressive and very sort of rude tonight. I wonder, if we'll see that.
We're a somewhat biased radio show, obviously. So.
If we're maybe not the most impartial arbiter, but I'm very interested to see coverage tomorrow on how people reacted to that.
You're listening to Yetta Kurland Live, talking about the second presidential debate here on WWRL 1600 Equality Pride Radio. Please call in with questions or comments about how you thought the debate won. So David, we're calling it for Barack Obama. You think he won this debate?
I absolutely do think Barack Obama won this, and actually I just saw the CBS poll. 37% of Americans thought that Barack Obama won. 30% gave it to Romney, and 33% said it was a tie. So I'll take that as a win.
Well, and that's an interesting setup for the third debate. I mean, there's a lot of pressure, obviously, on both candidates to then move that 30% either to their favor, hopefully, or to stop it from going to the other one. So let's go to another caller. We've got quite a few people calling in. We only have a few moments left for the show. Let's go to Barry from Bed-Stuy. Barry, you are on Yetta Kurland Live. Welcome to the show.
Yes, good evening.
How are you doing this evening?
A shellacking.
What's that?
Ronnie get a shellacking tonight. You get shellacking and you get kicks. You get everything done to him tonight.
Yeah. What was?
I do not think that he able for another one. I think he may stay off. Quite a bit.
So you're calling for Romney to take a day off tomorrow?
No, take the next
4 years off, maybe.
Call it off.
Takes a while for that shellac to dry.
It does.
It
It
takes
does
at
have to
least
set.
overnight.
Yeah. What was your favorite, Barry? What was your favorite part of the debate, or what was the most important point that you think that Barack Obama was able to shellac Romney with?
My favorite is the one when Romney says that after he heard the news about the killing in Libya. That he went off and they said nothing. Then the lady tell him no.
Yeah. Well, and the point I think I also was really when I was tweeting I hashtagged that creepiest moment because basically Barack Obama I think very eloquently was saying in essence we shouldn't use the tragedies of others for political expedience, right? And we don't want to turn this fear of terrorism or these horrible misfortunes that are happening certainly in the moment for this political opportunism. And the Romney's response was literally to be able to do that exact thing and make...
And another thing, the guy that speak just now, the president never leaves the building. He always was in the building.
Yeah.
He never leaves.
Yeah. Well...
He just give him a little thing and see what he can do. He just... All right.
Yeah.
And then,
so you felt like he didn't, so in essence what you're saying is he didn't do so poorly the first time around either. Is that your feeling?
No, he did Romney enough work to hang himself.
Mm-hmm. No shellacking, but he held his own in essence.
No. The president gave out a shellacking tonight.
Yeah.
Biden started off, and the president ended.
Yeah, I thought Biden did do a great job. Well, thank you, Barry, so much for. Yeah, thanks for calling in. We'll hope to hear from you again. We'll be covering the third debate as well. And you're listening to Yetta Kurland Live here, WWRL. Call in with your own questions or comments, 212-868-0975. That's 212-868-0975. Let's go back to the Candy Crowley. Is the first woman to moderate a debate in a long time. David, you felt like she did well also?
I absolutely did, and Paul said he felt that I think you said there was a woman issue there.
Yeah.
There was an issue of gender there, and I agree. I felt, and this is a gut thing, but I felt like Mitt Romney just didn't respect her or her position, and it was a little weird to me. It made me feel
acceptable.
And I thought she handled it really well because, you know, she stood her ground and she kind of, you know, stood him down, but she didn't throw herself off at all. You know, she just stayed really centered, I think, with that stuff.
And in a way that Jim Lehrer did not.
In a way that Jim Lehrer did not.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly she had the benefit of having watched him the first debate. And you could tell also, I happen to think that, like, kudos also in this win, not only to President Obama, but to President Obama's team. They clearly had spent some time with him and you know, prepped him for how to respond to when Governor Romney was a little aggressive with stuff.
Right. Another thing with Candy Crowley and her performance tonight is, I mean, we got some of her feistiness and interviews coming up to it, but, you know, she was sort of, according to the rules, the memoranda between the campaigns, she was not sort of supposed to do anything other than hold the microphone. There was going to be these vetted questions from the audience. They were from real people, but they were vetted and selected. And then she was not to ask follow-ups. She was not to hold the candidates to it. Yeah. And she said, well, I didn't sign that memorandum, and I'm going to do my job as a reporter. She had said so in interviews coming up to, and she did a good job as a reporter, and that was great to say.
David, if your calculations were that Jim Lehrer lost the last debate, is it true in your assessment that Candy Crowley won this debate?
Well, let's call it a tie between Obama and Candy Crowley.
Fair enough, fair enough. You're listening to Yetta Kurland Live. We're talking about the second presidential debate that just happened this evening. You can listen to us live stream at WWRL.com. And we're going to go to our next caller, Bob from Brooklyn. Bob, welcome to Yetta Kurland Live. You're on the air.
Good.
How you doing?
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Good.
But I was sort of upset with Obama in his first debate that they had. But after tonight, I said the first debate, he was playing rope-a-dope. He came out tonight floating like a butterfly and stinging like a bee.
Stinging like a bee, yeah.
And I have three things. See, I remember a few years ago, they used to use the word beat him at his own game. Romney came out the second time. He knew that one of the main issues were about jobs. So he came out all geared up to talk about what he's going to do to help the middle class. I didn't hear him say anything about the poor. But he came out talking about what he was going to do about the middle class. Now, he heard Obama talk about that for a long time, what he wanted to do, you know, for the underprivileged, for the middle class, for education and the like. And he thought he was going to get over with that tonight, but Obama had news for him. And the second thing is, I like when he brought up about China. I was hoping that Romney would save himself by not bringing that up. But when he brought that up, Obama was ready for him. He nailed him on that also. And about Libya, he nailed him on that. So I think he did a magnificent job, Obama did tonight. And I believe, in my opinion, he won with hands down.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for calling in, Bob. Thanks for your time. Again, you're listening to Yetta Kurland Live, WWRL 1600, Equality Pride Radio. Call in with questions or comments. We're going to try to get a few more in tonight. 212-868-0975. Again, that number is 212-868-0975. David, you made a mention about kind of the disconnect between what Romney expected or wanted for corporations in terms of taxation and the disparity between that and what Romney wants to advance in terms of rights for corporate personhood. Let's go back to that also. I thought one of the most bizarre responses, our last caller, Bob, has talked about starting the debate with jobs, talking about jobs and jobs being at the center of this debate. If I was not mistaken, I believe that Mitt Romney was suggesting that giving corporations breaks and having them make more money created more jobs. Do you agree with that assertion?
I agree with your assertion. I absolutely disagree with the fact. And let me say this. I spent more than 25 years running retail businesses. I've run $40 million retail businesses.
Yeah.
Right now, America's corporations have more cash on hand than they have ever had in history.
Right.
They're not poor. They have plenty of money to hire people. the reason that they're not hiring
And
people
capital is cheaper than it's ever been.
What's that?
And capital is cheap as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. And they're not in the
Great
business
point.
of making more jobs. And what they're in the business of is making more profit.
Absolutely. And that's
Right.
a great point, too. And, yet I want to say one thing. And maybe you or Paul or someone can help me understand this. Mitt Romney has spent his entire career at Bain Capital buying companies that were failing and then figuring out how basically to close them and to make money off of that. I'd like to understand when Mitt Romney actually learned how to create jobs, because he doesn't create jobs. He actually gets rid of jobs.
Right.
I'd like to understand.
He creates
how
some
that
jobs
happens.
for his friends. He creates some jobs for him and his friends, certainly.
Yes, and for people in China.
But no, and your point is very well taken, and I think is lost on our economic debate. And I think if Adam Green were here, I think he would point out that Democrats really need to point this out, that anybody who's ever met a business owner says business owners don't make decisions to hire based on what some tax rate is. They make a decision to hire people when there's a demand for their products or services that they need more staff to provide.
Exactly.
And the reason why we have had a comparatively slow job growth is because there is a lack of demand for products and services in the American middle class, because it has been trampled not just in the last 4 years, but for the last 30 years, when real income rates have not grown for working and middle class Americans. And that is, and no amount of Rolls Royces and luxury spending can add up to the consumption of middle class families that cannot keep up with today's economy.
And to piggyback on that, and to say again, the people who are running these corporations' jobs, they're not interested in creating jobs. They're interested in creating a bottom line and profits. That's, frankly, we can't be that upset with them. It's government regulation, it's government oversight that ensures the balance of those issues. They're going to reduce jobs if and any way that they can. They see jobs as overhead. The more jobs, the more salaries that they have to pay out, the lesser of a profit, and then that's a loss to them. That's not what they're geared to doing. That's not what they're focused on doing.
Correct.
Right. So the idea that making corporations more profitable and giving them more tax incentives is somehow going to create more jobs is a lapse, I think, in thought. Which it's that trickle down mentality. Which I just want to say one of my favorite things is that also that Mitt Romney tries to create this new language about like trickle down government. Like what? I'm like thinking of this like government like oozing off the page and like trickling. Like what does that mean?
That was a nice try, actually, and I thought he sort of planted it a little bit in the first debate. It failed utterly here, but that was a nice attempt for them to switch that narrative. But
trickle down government.
But I thought that he had to bring it out again because Obama was again strong about pointing that out. I thought one of Obama's first powerful lines was he doesn't have a 5-point plan. He has a 1-point plan, and it's making it easier for those at the top.
Yeah.
And that is, has been the Republican platform for some time now. And I thought he was.
No, it's true, but I guess trickle down makes me think, I don't even understand, because, if there's any criticism of Barack Obama and other progressives, it's that they're playing on a grassroots kind of bottom-up mentality. So I don't understand I just don't even understand the philosophy or what the definition of that is. I'd be interested to know. But let's go to our next caller. We have a bunch of callers. We have just a few moments left of the show. We're going to just try to knock a few of these out. We're going to go to Valerie from the Upper West Side. Valerie, welcome to Yetta Kurland Live.
Wow, how refreshing this was. I mean, not that I didn't think that he didn't cover things well in the first one. He just didn't expect, someone to come at him in the manner that he did. But I must say, we won, as a country. That was great for low information voters. And I love that he waited till he could get the last word to talk about the 47%.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing that Romney could say to rebut it.
Yeah, it was great. Listen, then let me ask you a question. There's another thing that I tweeted. I couldn't help but wondering, like, if Mitt Romney were a female candidate or a woman and was as aggressive, you're right, would he be seen as strong, or she be seen as strong, or just totally?
That's what lost. I think it was Hillary Clinton in the debate when she was going for Senate in New York. That's what lost the debate and lost the election. when she was Senate in New York City, when the
You mean when Rick Lazio walked over to her with those papers in 2000, sure.
That killed it for him.
Yeah.
But you know what? I felt so good for the low information voters to hear the truth and to hear the moderator back up the misconception that Romney was, his intention was to
misconstrue. It must have been horrifying for him and his team to watch that happen.
Upset.
Oof.
Oh my God, I was just really
very ox.
I can't wait to hear everybody tomorrow on the radio.
Good. Well, Valerie, thanks for calling in tonight on the radio. We hope to hear from you again soon. And thanks for calling in.
I really appreciate the show.
Great. Well, thanks, and thanks for listening.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we have just a few more moments. What we're going to do is just try to get through, maybe if we can get 2 or 3 more callers in, we're just going to go back to back. Let's go to Dinah from Columbus Circle. Dana, welcome. Dana, welcome to Yetta Kurland Live. You're on the air.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I was thinking that if I was in that audience, I would have loved to ask Romney, what were you thinking when you strapped your dog on top of that roof and try to take him?
It's a question that didn't come up. I know. I guess it's probably hard for Obama to squeeze that one in, of course.
It's been covered here on Yetta Kurland Live. I can guarantee you that.
One of the audience members, to be one of the in the audience. There was an audience.
Yeah, they probably got
to be able to ask that question to Romney. Like, what were you thinking? First of all, I thought Obama did great the first debate. I thought the media immediately spinned it for Romney. I thought he was obnoxious. I thought he was slick. He was like a used car salesman. And these people that are undecided, I mean, we're almost at the election. Like, what planet are they living on? They don't know who they're voting for yet? I mean, give me a break. And millions of dollars of information. I mean, come on. I mean, that's ridiculous. But overall, I was very happy. I wasn't crazy at Candy Crowley. I thought the woman who did the VP debate was the best out of all 3 of them. She was great. And that they should bring her back for the 3rd debate. She was great.
Well, great. Well,
that's all I really want to say.
Thanks for your comments. Thanks for calling in. Again, you're listening to Yetta Kurland Live here on WWRL 1600 AM Equality Pride Radio. We're going to go to our next caller, Dave from Jersey City. Dave, thanks for calling in. You're on the air.
Thank you for taking my call, and I appreciate the great service that you're doing.
Well, thank you.
Obama was classic today. He, I'm not going to use the word destroy, but he just put Romney in his place.
Yeah.
But what I want to talk about would be CNN, and I was telling your screener that we know that MSNBC with Schultz and the Reverend Al Sharpton is Democrat.
Right.
But CNN, they want to be the trusted media. They need to start getting back to really being shown validity, because I think they're really slanting things, and you can't slant when you have inaccuracies.
Yeah.
Obama is a great man, and he's a great man. I'm proud of my president.
He's amazing, and he was so good on his feet. It was like, he just turned it around. And one of the things he's such a great thinker, and he's such a great orator. In fact, I thought one of the embarrassing things for Romney when he was trying to give compliments to Barack Obama, he's like, well, he speaks really well. But at any rate, thanks for calling in, Dave. Thanks for your comments, and thanks for calling in Yetta Kurland Live.